Okay, hopefully we've had enough of a mental break in between viewing these. We're going to do our, again, JIT 5. We're going to deal with multiplying and dividing. They have very, very different rules from adding and subtracting. You're going to want to be sure that you're keeping which one's right in your mind, okay? So when you're dealing with multiplication or division, we only can multiply or divide at any one time. We can only do that with two numbers, okay? So you need to keep that in mind because this is going to have some impact. When you have the same signs, whether they're both positive or both negative, your result is going to be a positive number when you're multiplying or dividing, okay? If you have opposing signs, one is positive, one is negative, or the other way around, your answer is going to be a negative number. It does not have anything to do with size of numbers or anything else. It's if one is positive and one is negative, you wind up with a negative. If you have the same signs, whether they're both positive or both negative, your answer is going to be a positive number. So I did a couple little problems here, and I want to make certain that we're real clear on the fact that we are only dealing with two numbers at a time. If you take a look here, I have my -4 times 3 times 2 times a -1. Well, I'm going to, and obviously you could associate these numbers however you like because it is straight up multiplication, but for the moment I'm going to go left to right just to kind of show the point of this. So I have a -4 and a +3 that I'm multiplying together. My answer is a -12. Okay, I have opposing signs, so that gives me a negative number. And then I'm going to multiply that by a +2 and then a -1. So if I have my -12 and I multiply that by a 2, I wind up with a -24. Again, I have a negative number here and a positive number here. All right, so that -24 is going to multiply a -1. So I'm going to wind up with a +24 at the end. Okay, because both of these two were negative, they're the same sign, my result has to be a positive. Okay, here's one where we are going to look at why it has to be only two numbers at a time. Here I've got a -3, a -4, and a -2, and I am going to be multiplying them together, and they all have, at this point, they all have the same sign. So you can't just look at that and say, oh, they're all negative, so therefore my answer is going to be a positive number. The answer is no, you can't do that. You have to do two numbers at a time. And again, it does not matter to me how you would have chosen to associate them. I'm choosing to do it left to right. So -3 times a -4 is going to get me a +12 because these are the same sign. They're both negative, but they're the same sign, so that gives me a +12, and then I'm going to multiply that by a -2. Now I have a positive number times a negative number. That's going to give me a negative result. So 12 times -2 is going to give you a -24. And that is so whether or not you're dealing with a multiplication problem or a division problem. If we have -5 plus x, and I am dividing by a -2, we want to figure out what that is. Here I'm going to have, I have a negative and a negative. I can actually pull this apart. I'm going to show, sometimes it's easier for people to see it if you can pull it apart a little bit. So I have a -5 plus an x, and each of those is going to be over the value of -2. All right, so here I can see this set of negatives is going to cancel out. I'm going to have a -5 over -2 becomes a +5 over 2. And then I'm going to add this. I'm going to have my -1/2 x. Now that 1/2 is coming from that there's a 1 right there, right? And it's a negative because if this is negative and this is positive, the whole thing is negative. So I could rewrite this to be, I could have it be a 2 1/2, right? Because that's going to get me the 2 1/2. And then I'm going to have a plus a negative 1/2 x, or I could go just the minus sign 1/2 x. I'm going to go with the plus and keep it really clean so that it's real clear what is happening here. So 1/2 x. All right, I'm going to stop here. Hopefully this gives you enough information. If not, we can certainly talk about it some more, or you can go back, re-listen to this, or take a look at any of the other resources that are available to you as well. All right,